It's your girl Valerie Mason Chase again, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Beyond the Breach. And listen, let me just tell you guys something. Tonight, we are going to be talking about something that has the ability to potentially transform all of your relationships, your friendships, your family relationships, your working relationships, but most of all, your romantic relationships, your relationship with your husband, your wife, your partner, whomever you may be in a romantic relationship with. We're going to be talking about love languages. And some of you may have heard of love language. Maybe you know your love language or your partner's love language. But in any event, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And as always, I have some amazing, fantastical guests on to help me talk about this subject. Hey, Miss Gina, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. So I'm going to bring on first James and Cynthia Green, who are from Marriage Built to Last. So welcome, James. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for
Hi,
having
everyone.
us.
Good to see you. Good to see you again. The last time I saw you guys was last year when you had your conference, and the Cookie Man and I were able to come down for the first day. Unfortunately, we couldn't stay for the second day, but while we were there, we had an amazing time. And it is our commitment to stay there for the entire conference the next time that you all have one. So, welcome on tonight.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
So, would you take just a minute and tell our viewers, anyone who may not know you or be familiar with you, what is Marriage Built to Last? What's that all about?
So, hi, everybody. Marriage Built to Last is a platform for busy professional couples who are on the move, who have good, great, amazing, and sometimes okay marriages, who are looking for create vision and passion and goals in their marriages. And we help you create strategies so that you can build a great marriage and a great future at that. We've been in business 10 years now. Yay. And so we offer a plethora of things from courses to workshops, conferences, and a couples membership, which we'll tell you a little bit more towards the end. But yeah, so we are speakers, we're coaches. We've written 3 books, working on our 4th. So we're just, out here doing what God has called us to do to help couples.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, I'm going to bring on our next guest. Those of you who have viewed us before are quite familiar with this beautiful face. This is none other than Kim Jetter. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you for having me again. Really excited for this conversation with the 4 of us tonight.
Yes, it's going to be amazing. So, for those of you who don't know you and are seeing you for the very first time, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, sure. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been in practice for about 15 years. It was a midlife career change for me. I went from advertising and consulting into counseling because that's what I loved from that work that I was doing was the psychology of it. I am now in a group practice that I run, and there's a team of about 5 of us all together, and we do marriage counseling, and we do individual and family counseling as well. And our passion really is to come alongside our clients and help them move from feeling stuck to places where they realize, oh, I have some more options and feel unstuck. And one of my favorite verses is Galatians 5:1. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free.
Set us free.
So how can we walk more in that freedom that Christ left us to have?
Yes, so, I love that. I love that. And just FYI, for those of you who may be watching for the first time, Kim Jetter was one of my professors at Cairn University, where I received my master's in counseling. And I just got to say, I absolutely fell in love with you when you were my professor at Cairn. And I am just so happy that we have been able to continue our not just professional relationship, but also a friendship. And
Amen.
I appreciate you.
Yes.
So, without further ado, we are going to get right to tonight's topic on the love languages. So, if you would, talk about the origin of love languages. Where did they come from? How did they start? And who started them?
Well, I can share a little. Gary Chapman wrote a book on the 5 love languages. He actually created that. I don't know that title, I guess. And what it was is that he was a pastor, and a lot of couples were coming to him for counseling, and they were he felt like they just didn't understand one another. So he felt like if they could understand what filled up their cup to fill up their love language, then if they knew each other's love language, it would help fill up their cup and fulfill a need that that couples were feeling was missing in their relationship.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Not a lot to add to that. It's just amazing that it was just 1992, though, that he wrote that book. Right?
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Like 33 years ago. And
Right.
and
I think what he did was, everybody is different. So what he did was he asked couples, what are you passionate about? What makes you happy, or what fills your love tank up? And so when everybody gave that response, he took that and created those 5 love languages.
Yes. And I love the whole idea of love language and knowing your own, first of all. It's because that way you're able to communicate what it is that speaks love to you, so that your partner is not doing something thinking that they're speaking love to you and they're missing the mark.
Right.
So I think that's why it's so important. So can you and each of you can maybe take a couple of the love languages, because they're 5. Just can you break down each one of the 5 love languages and share examples of how they might be manifested in everyday life?
You want us to share examples of all 5?
just
break them down. Just say what each love language is, what it's about, and how they could possibly be manifested in everyday life.
Okay, I'll start. So I would say one of the love languages, acts of service. And it's interesting because, and I want to start with this caveat too. A lot of times we are doing things for our spouse. Let's just say you love to buy your wife a lot of beautiful gifts, and she doesn't, you feel like she doesn't seem to appreciate them. But that may not be something that makes her feel warm and fuzzy inside. She likes acts of services. So she would rather you do some helpful things around the house, do some tasks, do some things like, maybe go wash her car, or when you take out the trash without her saying anything, it makes her feel really good. It's those little gestures that just shows like you're supporting her and you're appreciating her. And so you're doing these things to show that, baby, I got your back. I'm here to support you.
Okay. Another of the 4 remaining
I'll
ones.
take one. I'll take the next one. The next one is words of affirmation. Because, and words of affirmation is sometimes you need to tell your spouse, baby, you look good. Baby, I like to see you in that, or I, like how you look. Because sometimes when you don't do that, your spouse may think you're taking it for granted. Like, you don't appreciate what I'm doing. You don't appreciate how I look. I mean, I got all dressed up for you and you didn't even acknowledge how I looked. Or I bought a new dress and you didn't even acknowledge the new dress or how I look in it. So that is the key one, letting your spouse know that they look good and they look good to you. Because trust me, when you first met, you thought they looked good. When they first met, you said, because just think, men, let me talk about men for a minute. Men are what we like, but we have to see something we like first before we go after it. Like, you may see a car, like, you know what? I like that car. I'm gonna go buy one. The same with a woman. You may see a woman and it may be the way she walks, the way she dresses, the way she wears her hair, something that makes you want to go after her, ask her for a number, or maybe even to ask her out. So you need to keep doing that in your marriage, showing that words of affirmation, letting them know they look good, letting them know that you like the way they look, or you like the things they wear, or you like certain things about them. That's the words of affirmation.
Okay.
So I'm gonna jump in on James for a second, because sometimes I'll be dressed up and I'll say, "Aren't you gonna say anything?" But words of affirmation is not my love language. But this is just gonna show how, even though
you
that
still want to hear it,
be your prime love language, there's still gonna be times when some of these things apply regardless. Because honestly, sometimes when he get dressed up, he'll go, "How do I look?"
And let's be honest, she'll say, "You look like James."
Okay, so
but that's not my love language also, so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
I got it. All right, Kim, what are you going to add to the love languages?
Well, I just had to chuckle as James and Cynthia were sharing, because my love language, my primary one, is words of affirmation. For my husband, is acts of service. So I love, receiving those cards with the flowery word, just all of that. And he's wonderful at doing acts of service. So I'll come home and walk in the house, and he said, "Did you look at the garden?" And I said, "Uh-oh." I didn't even notice it. And I said, "I think I left something in the car." Go back out, look, and recognize that means a lot to him, to notice the service that he did. He loves gardening, and so and when I can speak to that, it means a lot to him, and he's recognizing more that, oh, she does like the card, receiving the cards, and that's helpful. But one, I think we didn't talk, is quality time.
Quality time.
That's another important one, is just really having that time with your spouse and loved ones to connect, so, it's football season. And so a lot of husbands, mine included, was, 3:00, he's actually planning a men's ministry event. And I said, "Oh, you're not making calls right now." Well, the football game's about to start. And so no one's going to pick up the phone right now. So, it's so making that quality. Yes. Okay, fine. You make time for those things, but also make time for, as a couple, to really.
Yes.
Right. And that's funny. That's a key, because that's Cynthia's love language, is quality time. And there's times when I just have to turn off ESPN.
Okay, he used to. I'm not as adamant about it now that we've been married several years now.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And you'll watch football with me, so that's good.
Yep. I was going to say too, something that people usually leave out with quality time. They think it's always about doing something together, going out on a date, which is important, or watching TV together, which is important. But sometimes it's just in the kitchen, she's cooking, you're wiping down the counter. Sometimes it's just sitting around, but a big part of it is conversation. Quality time is having those quality conversations also. And we find that a lot of times couples are not really talking to one another about things that are important to themselves, And so then when they don't see it manifest, then they're a little, they're upset because their spouse hasn't done this or done that, but you haven't correctly communicated to them or directly communicated to them. So that quality time, that conversation piece is in that part too, because some people feel like, okay, when you sit down and give me your undivided attention and listen to me, that's quality time for them.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
good, baby.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. James.
I was going to say that's good, because you're listening not to respond. You're listening to understand. And some people don't listen to understand what's being said. They're just listening to hear it, not listening to understand. But we can go now to my favorite. We can go to my favorite, which is physical touch.
Physical touch. There you go.
And the physical touch is good, but see, people think physical touch is physical touch to be sexual, and that's not always the case.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's like walking down the street holding hands.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Sometimes
it when you
it's
hold
just
my hand.
Mm-hmm.
well,
Look at y'all.
I know, because we could be riding in a car and I'll just reach over and grab her hand.
Yeah.
And then she'll have a smile on her face.
Yes.
See, that's the physical touch, because it's not all about touching to be sexual. Just like you could be sitting watching a movie and all you're doing is having your arm around her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's my favorite, more physical touch, because I know I'm a touchy-feely person. And a lot of times I'll even talk with my hands. So that's physical touch. Because sometimes women like that. Sometimes women will like you to hold their hand as you're walking down the street. Or even crossing the street, just grab their hand.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and that brings that more intimacy together, because it's not intimacy, like I said, for sex. It's intimacy to show you're connected, to show you're intimate to one another. Into me.
Yes. That is great, because, you know, that is I have my top 2 love languages: quality time and physical touch. And, you know, my husband used to think when he would go out and shovel the snow and do all that sort of thing, and like you said, I wasn't really feeling it. I mean, I appreciated it, but I just want you to come sit down next to me.
Right.
You know, I just want to lay and cuddle. I don't care whether you're the big spoon or the little spoon. I just want a spoon. So that for me is, I mean, that is everything, that physical touch and that quality time. So it's important to know. And there's one last love language that we didn't talk about.
Receiving gifts.
Gifts.
Yeah. Receiving gifts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, that's a big one that people get confused, because a lot of not for this to sound negative, but a lot of men love to give their wives gifts, and they think that that's what's going to get them excited and jump up and down and throw their arms around them and just love on them. And sometimes it's like, oh, that's nice, because that's not your love language. But it'll feel more important to them if you're filling up their cup in that area that is their love language. Then the gift will have more meaning behind it. But if that's all you're doing, it can lead to a lot of miscommunication, because if that's not what they, and I can only say that from experience from past relationship, used to always give me gifts, and it didn't faze me any, and they thought I was being unappreciative. Okay, it was nice. It wasn't something I really wanted or needed. So, so it's important. But if that is your spouse's love language, we need to get it right. Give them gifts that they really, they're going to enjoy, that they like, that they need, that they're going to appreciate. That's going to get them excited. That makes a difference from giving somebody something just because.
Yeah. And that, I like, what you were saying there. And sometimes I think people mistakenly think gifts has to be something extravagant and expensive.
Right.
It really does not.
It doesn't.
It could be, you're out and you get your spouse their favorite cup of coffee that they really like, and you just thought of them and you brought that for them, or you give them a gift of an experience. If there's this particular, a time at the picnic at the park, there's sometimes it combines multiple love languages, because it's an
absolutely
quality time as well as a gift.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind. And that
is
was
so
I
true.
tell my husband all the time that he's getting off easy, because I don't really care about gifts. I told him, listen, I could buy my own jewelry, I could buy my own that. Just come and hug a sister, I told him, you getting off cheap. You ain't got to buy me no fur coat. You ain't got to get me all of this and all the knickknacks, because I'm not into, purses and shoes and all that sort of thing. So, listen, he's getting off real easy. Tell him, James.
You sound
That's
like
true.
me,
That is
Valerie.
so true. Because there was one time Cynthia and I, we were in Target, and we played the little game like you take $5 or $10 and go around Target and buy me something, buy me some of your favorites. And it was like your favorite candy bar or your favorite pack of gum.
Okay.
Remember, baby, we did that?
Yeah, we actually were with another couple. All 4 of us did it. Well, it was
Yeah.
3
Oh,
couples.
that sounds
Yeah,
like
all of us
fun.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It looks
I
like
like
And like
that.
you said, it's not a matter of an extravagant gift. It's the thought that's behind it. You know, here's your
Absolutely.
favorite pack of mints that you always buy, or here's your favorite candy bar that you like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I want to ask this next question. So, what role, if any, do childhood experiences play in shaping someone's primary love language, and how can this understanding enhance the relationship with their partner?
Mm.
What role might that play?
I can start. I can start that one. I think it plays a
Mhm.
big role because how
Mhm.
you were raised affects how you go into a marriage or relationship and what your love language is. And I can give you examples. Like for me, I was raised in Philadelphia to a single mother, so she worked all the
Mhm.
time to provide for 5 children. So that's what I thought made a happy home, working all the time.
Mm.
So I worked 3 and 4 jobs in my first marriage, but I was never home. And if her love language was quality time, I was never there because I worked all the time.
Mm.
Because I felt,
Mhm.
that's what makes a happy home. You work, you provide. As long as you
Right.
provide, what are you complaining about? But that's not the case.
Mm.
So upbringing and your child has a lot to do with it because
Mhm.
if you're raised a certain way, you're not well-rounded, say, in the verse of all the love languages. So you don't know what makes one woman happy because you were only raised a
Mhm.
certain way and you only know a certain way.
Yes.
So as
Yeah.
far as upbringing, that's important in learning the love languages. That's why when you start getting older, you need to learn about all of them. And you need to have that open lines of communication with your mate to find out what they like, how they like it,
Exactly.
what they want, how they want it. So you know their love language. So what you were raised on, might not be it. So you can learn how to make them happy, fill their love tank is something I always say. So they'll be
Yeah.
appreciative and they'll like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Kim, did
Yeah.
you want to chime in on that one?
Yes, there's some in addition to that, there's some schools of thought about how about lack versus abundance, right?
Mhm.
So that what we received abundantly, sometimes that becomes part of what shapes our love language, or what we didn't receive enough of that we felt we needed.
Mhm.
So, like you said, I also was raised by a single mom. And so then that time you don't get to have as much time because of the working requirements and just meeting the needs of the family.
Yeah.
So as an that might like missing that and needing that could shape as an adult,
Yeah.
looking to be in a relationship or have that connection where you have more of that quality time.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
You're so
That
right
sounds like
because
attachment plays a role in there as well.
exactly. Because I was
yeah.
going to say, if it's a single parent and they're working all the time, you don't have that quality time with your parent. So now
Right.
you may not give your mate that quality time because you
Mhm.
didn't get that quality time being raised.
Yes.
You're exactly right.
Mm.
Yeah. So, how can someone identify their own love language and their partner's love language?
Well, I would say the first step, especially today, we got our phones, our computers. Take the love language quiz.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
And I have it right here. Mhm.
take the
Mhm.
quiz. I talked to so many people. I'm surprised that so many people have taken that test. Gary Chapman was really onto something
What?
back in '92 when he created this, because
Yeah.
I could randomly talk to someone and they know their love language. But at the same time, if you don't know about this, having a conversation with your partner about what
Mhm.
they like, what they don't like. James and I, we always talk about expectations when we're
Mm.
coaching couples. And sometimes
Mhm.
just by what they're saying their expectations are, we
Mhm.
can read what their love
Mhm.
language is. I'll be like, I perceive that acts of service is your love language, when you
Yeah.
have a long list of things that you want your spouse to do.
Mhm.
Right. And
So
that's good, babe, because like I always say, expectations leads to disappointment. Because if
Mhm.
you're expecting something and you don't communicate that with your mate and it
Right.
doesn't happen, now you're disappointed.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So the only thing, so if you have those expectations, those are the things you need to share. So when you share your expectations, that most likely is your love language because you're sharing what you like, you're sharing what you want.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if you don't share, then there's that chance that you'll be disappointed because they're not meeting your expectations because you never talked about them in the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So that quiz is here as a banner, and if you can see the comments, if you go up to the very, very, very top of the comments, I put that link in there as well. So if you need to click on it or if you need to write it down, I encourage you and your partner to go to this website and take the love language quiz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I did want to add one thing to what
Mhm.
James was saying about the expectations leading to disappointment, and
Mhm.
and I agree. And I think part of that is because what can trip couples up is the assumptions and the expectations, right? We
Yeah.
assume because we love it when someone uses words of affirmation
Mm.
or brings us a gift, then we assume that our partner is going to love,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then it leads to disappointment because that's actually not what speaks love and resonates as loving for that person.
Yeah.
So
So,
true. That's so
um,
true.
I
Mhm.
wonder, do love languages evolve over time or in different phases or seasons of life? Might someone's love language have been something at, let's say, 30 and now they're 60? Might
Mhm.
might their love language have changed? And if they've been in the same relationship for all of those years, how can a couple navigate those changes?
I would say for me, mine has never changed. Mine has been the same as far as I can remember.
Mm-hmm,
Even when I think about as a teenager, young adult, and being married to James for 17 years, mine has never changed.
mm-hmm,
But I have seen people that we coach where theirs did change. And so
mm-hmm.
the spouse didn't understand why gifts is no longer important to you. But sometimes they get overwhelmed because you're giving me gifts, you're giving me gifts, but you're not talking to me. So
Right.
now, words of no, quality time has become more important to you because I want you to sit down and talk with me. I want you to give me your time, honey. What's that you always say? Give me your presence.
Mhm.
And that's not present a gift. It's your
Mhm.
prescence. Did I spell it right? Give
Yep.
me your presence. Be present here with me.
Right,
So
right.
it does shift for people sometimes, and sometimes
Mhm.
they don't even realize it until they start wondering why they're feeling a certain way. It's so
Mm,
sad. Sometimes people walk away from relationship just because they're not getting what they think they should be getting, but then they haven't found a way to
it
really
happened.
portray that to their spouse to
Right.
let them know what they really need. And so then you're blaming
Yeah.
them for something that they're not aware, that you haven't communicated it to them. Everybody's not emotionally enough intelligent to pick up on this shift, this change. And
Yeah.
but we got to get to a place where we can have these mature conversations with one another. That's the
Mhm.
only
Absolutely.
way we're going to grow and have a great marriage.
Yes,
Yeah.
very true. Very true. I remember. Oh, God,
No,
James, you want
I was
to
gonna
say?
say I think sometimes they do change.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
think more times than not they change because as we get older, we evolve. People evolve. It's like when you were younger, like you didn't eat Brussels sprouts, but now that you're older, you love them. It's the same. I feel it's the
Mm-hmm.
same with the love language because for me, I used to like gifts. Even say in my first marriage, because I worked so much, I used to appreciate gifts. But now
Mm-hmm.
it's more physical touch. So I think mine has
Mm,
changed. And I think more people has changed because like now, gifts, what did I tell you, Cynthia? You don't have to buy me nothing. There's nothing I really need that's that important. Just like I said, give me your presence. And I'm not talking about gifts. I'm talking about your presence in the moment, your presence with me. So I
mm-hmm.
feel as people get older, their love languages do change. I'm not
Mhm.
saying it happens all the time, but I feel in certain cases, some cases, they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember hearing a pastor share about his experience of relationship, and he said, in the past 40 years, I've been married to 5 different women. I was
Wow.
like, wow.
Oh.
Oh, but I think I know where he's going.
And he said, and it's all the same person, that she
Yes.
has evolved over time. And I've had to
Mm,
learn and grow as she's learned. And there are things about me that have changed over time. So
mm-hmm.
naturally, for some, the love language will change and shift too, because value and need in one season may look different from what we value and need.
Right.
Different season.
Yes.
That's so true.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And I just want to invite anyone who's watching live, if you have a question for our guests on tonight, and of course, guys have been putting stuff in the chat, and I really appreciate that. I love when the broadcast can be interactive. But if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask. Okay, because we got a lot of wisdom here. We got a lot of experience here. We have life experience as well as professional experience. So make use of it while we got it here. So I want to ask, how do love languages apply to non-romantic relationships like friendships, family relationships, and even colleagues? How might that apply?
You know, I have a sister friend group, and it's 4 of us, and we all have different personalities. And I honestly can tell what each of our love languages is, just, you know, from being around them and growing with them and experiencing them. Matter of fact, 2 of them are on here, and I could call out what their love language is. I know one of them absolutely loves gifts. She gets excited when you give her something. At the same time, she loves to give other people gifts, you know? So I think that, you know, and I love to quote my husband because he got so many good quotes, but he always said, you have to study your spouse. You have to study your friends too. When you're with your friends, you know, you recognize certain things about them, things that make them click, things that make them smile, things that make them happy, things that get them excited, you know. So I think that, you know, with our friends, you know, we have to pay attention to those things because a lot of times, you know, and like James says, we evolve and we change. I have friends that from childhood that I have no clue what their love language is necessarily because I'm not around them. But if you're around someone, generally, you will pick up on what their love language is.
And I would say the same goes for siblings. Because, you know, when you're raised in a household, each child has a different personality and different things. All of their love languages are different. You know, and you learn that by growing up with them. Like what makes them happy and what makes them mad and what they like and maybe what they don't like. See, for example, my brother, I know gifts is not his love language because when it comes to gifts, he's not going out buying anything. He's giving straight cash. So I know that's not his love language. But if you tell him that he looks nice or, man, I like how you look in that suit, he gets excited.
Yeah.
And now my sister, when she was living, hers was like acts of service. If you do something for her, oh, she'll love you to death. She will love you. And that's the thing. So growing up, love language is the key, you know, with your siblings, because, you know, as you get older, you know what they like and what they don't like, what their love language is. So when you get together, say even for a family reunion or for family dinner, you know what to expect because you know what their love languages are.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's good.
That's true. Yeah. And you can tell what someone's often just by where they light up. Like,
yes.
They are really lighting up. Like you said, they get excited, they light up, and that helps you to get it. Idea of what their love language is.
Right. Because you could tell how they act when you give them something that is their love language. And like you said, how they light up, they'll express it and they'll let you know how they love it.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. I just want to back up a little bit to something that Cynthia was saying earlier about couples communicating with one another in terms of love languages and what appeals to you and what you want, and to be very, very clear. Sometimes people have this notion that, well, he should know or she should know. And what I say is our partners know what we tell them. I just refuse that idea. I don't like the notion of, well, somebody should know. If you've been with someone long enough, you could possibly figure some things out. But I think it's healthier if you have that open communication, and you can say, this is what I long for, this is what I need, this is what I desire, and this is what I would like to receive from you, because this is what touches my heart and speaks love to me, rather than saying, well, he should know, why should I tell him? So I don't know.
I,
What are your thoughts?
I definitely agree with that, because I say that all the time, especially men. We are not mind readers.
No.
We don't know what, all we know is what you tell us. So if you let us know what you like, what you want, then we'll know. And I can give you a great example. Like, I'll say, I'm going to get something to drink. And Cynthia can say, oh, can you bring me back something? And I'll bring her back water. She'll be upset. I didn't ask for water. I wanted tea. Well, you didn't say tea. So you tell me what you want to drink. So that's like growing up. If my mother said, James, go to the store and get this. If you don't tell me 3 items and they don't have the first item, I'm coming back with nothing.
He's still like that. He's still like that.
She used to get so upset. Then she learned that, okay, if they don't have this, get this. If they don't have that, get this. So now you gave me 3 items and they're bound to have one. Because, and that's what I tell her. We don't know. You can't just assume that we know what you're thinking and we know what you want unless you don't tell us. We're not mind readers. I'm sorry. So you are so right in that we only know what you tell us. Because just like I say, every woman is different. So you got to tell us what you want. Tell us what you like. Because you can go be in your second relationship and you can give that second relationship the same thing you give the first relationship and it doesn't work. And you're wondering why now. Because you're giving both ladies the same thing in both relationships and each person is different.
Each person is different.
Absolutely. So we don't know unless you let us know.
Right. I agree 100%. I have 2 great questions here in the chat. I want to put them up. The first is from Michelle. And Michelle, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. She's saying, hey, neighbors. I'm not sure who her neighbor is, but whomever.
That's us.
Oh, that's our neighbor, babe.
That's your neighbor?
That's our neighbor.
So she was saying she doesn't know if we talked about it before, but she was asking about attachment style. I know we mentioned it briefly, Michelle, but I don't know. Kim, do you want to expand a little bit on that, please?
Sure. Michelle, thanks for that question. That's a really great question. We were talking a little bit before about how our childhoods shape our love languages. And part of that has to do with kind of what either lack, something that we lacked, or something that we had in abundance. So if we lacked that time of, presence and connection with our parents because they were working so much, then quality time might show up as one of our love languages because it was a need, which has to do with attachment style that went unmet. So some of those unmet needs that we had in childhood can show up in what we long for and manifest as our love language. So hopefully
and I'm wondering about if let's say someone who has an anxious attachment style, what those individuals may have as a primary love language more often than not. I'm wondering if that has ever been studied, the specific connection between attachment styles, whether you're anxious or whether you're avoidant. And I imagine the avoidant wouldn't have a quality time as their primary love language. It would probably be something else. But
that's a really good question. I'm not aware of any research that's been done correlating the two.
Right. Neither have I, but I could say, say for an example, I guess boys are more attached to their mothers and girls are more attached to their fathers. So say if the father's not in the home and every time he comes around, he gives the daughter a gift. He just gives her gifts all the time and shower gifts. Maybe when she gets older, that might be her love language because she's so used to receiving gifts. Maybe when she gets married, she wants gifts from her husband. I don't know if a study's been done, but it just seems, that might work that way.
Yeah. And I want to talk about I want to talk a little bit about the avoidance piece too. A lot of times when people use the avoidance tactic, it's because they don't feel that either they don't trust giving you, that they can trust you with their knowledge or their time or their true feelings and thoughts. And so therefore they avoid having those conversations. So they, so when you want to have those conversations and they're dismissive, or they, you know, they're afraid that if they share their heart, their feelings, that you may not understand them, you may overtalk them, you may you know, just be dismissive back to them. So that's where that avoidance comes in when you're talking about relationships, especially between spouses, because sometimes, you know, I tell couples that your spouse has to know that they can trust their heart with you. If they can trust their heart with you, then they can talk with you about anything. But if they have, you know, and it goes back to childhood, like you were saying, Kim, you know, if you never had anyone to talk to growing up, and you never learned how to have a real conversation and share your thoughts and feelings, sometimes they're not just being dismissive or fearful. It's just that they just don't know how, because they've never been taught. They've never done it. They've never had that opportunity. And so it takes a lot of patience and time to get that out of our partners.
Right. And you know what? That's true, because it could lead to, in a relationship, you're still you're avoiding them tough conversations. You know, you're avoiding conflict resolution. So you're feeling the marriage may not work because you could be the one that's avoiding the conflict resolutions because you grew up with that avoidance.
Yeah. Yeah. And Michelle makes a great point that the ability to be vulnerable with each other is important in a relationship. Absolutely. And what I have found with many couples is the reluctance to be vulnerable. But when you talk to them, you can kind of sort of understand, because it may not be a safe space in order to have that high level of vulnerability. So it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? You know, you got to have safety before you could be completely vulnerable.
Yeah.
But that's so true, because before Mary and James, I'd never had deep, thoughtful conversations with a man. But because he was open and he provided that safe space, and he told me, I'm an open book, you know, you can share anything with me. And I was hesitant, you know, I was not used to that. As a matter of fact, even though I was a counselor by profession, I wasn't used to like pouring out myself to anyone, because I never had anyone that I could really do that with. I didn't do it with my parents. I didn't do it with my siblings. You know, my friends and I might have had some conversation, but, you know, we're just talking and sharing. But as far as sharing with an intimate partner, I'd never had that before. And so I had to learn to trust that what I said to James wasn't going to be just thrown out the window. You know, and he wasn't going to look at me a certain way because I shared something with him.
Right. And baby, that's where when I talk to men, I tell them women want to feel secure. That's the only way they're going to be vulnerable to you. I tell men, women want to feel secure physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You make them feel secure in them areas, then they'll be willing to open up to you and tell you anything. But you have to make sure they feel secure, that they can come to you with anything. Maybe not even just to solve a problem, maybe just to listen to them. But you have to make them feel secure in the area so they're willing to come to you and open up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ms. D has a question I want to pose to the panel. She's asking, how do you tell your spouse nicely without hurting their feelings about gifts that he gives that I don't really want?
You know what? That's a tough one. We had a friend that used to get really, James is laughing because we both know, she used to get really upset because every month, she said every Mother's Day, every Christmas, she thought he would get better with the gifts, because she tried to tell him, you know, no, she didn't tell him. She said she didn't feel like she should have to tell him what she liked. He said, if he gives me a sweatsuit and it's from, I don't know, Kmart, Walmart, whatever, he can go look in my closet and see that that's not the type of sweatsuit that I buy. I said, yeah, but he's probably not looking in your closet and looking in the tags in your clothes. He's not thinking like that. But she felt like she should not have to tell him what she liked and didn't like. I think that we're afraid to go to our spouse because we think it's going to hurt their feelings, and maybe initially it will, but it's first it's how you start the conversation, when you start the conversation.
That's right.
or when you start the conversation, because maturity is growth. What does the Bible say? That, we got to stop eating milk and sometimes and learn how to eat the meat. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so at some point, you're after dinner, you say, you know what, babe, I've really been wanting to share something with you that's on my heart. And I don't want you to take offense. Just don't get upset about it. But, let's just talk about it, because I want to know more about what you really want and what you really need, And so I like to start a new tradition to where, we share things that we like and don't like. And so you just start a conversation like that. Right. But one of the things that James and I did, and we even have our daughter do it, we create a list of things that we would like for Christmas.
Yes.
That's wise.
Right. Yep. That's very wise. And I did not know for years, I'm talking 10 years or 8, 9 years, I did not know that when I made my extensive list for Christmas, my husband hung on to that list for the whole year. And so when my birthday came around, Mother's Day came around, he was still pulling from that list.
That is why.
Yeah. So we gotta stop tipping. You know what? That for me speaks volumes that you don't feel comfortable talking to your spouse about anything and everything. And that's where therein the problem lies. And not that you don't feel comfortable, maybe they don't feel comfortable. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we got to create those comfortable environments,
Yeah.
My girl talks about pillow talk,
Right. Out of the heart, the mouth speaks. So it's always coming from a place of love.
That's right.
And like Cynthia said, I used to hold on to that list because I used to pull, because she made an extensive list. So when Valentine's Day came, her birthday came, Mother's Day came, I would always go to that list. And I knew it was always something she liked. And she'd be surprised, like, oh, I love it. I like it. She didn't know I got it from the list. But I would say that what you tell them is, this gift is nice, but what I would prefer is something like this. I mean, this is nice, but I would prefer this. So here's what we can do. Like Cynthia said, here's what we can do. You talk to them about it. Say, you know what? Why don't we just make a list of the things we may want, and then we could buy each other the gifts from the list.
That's true. That's true.
Great. I love that idea. And sometimes just paying attention when you're out somewhere and your partner says, oh, you know what? That's really nice. I like that. Put that somewhere in the back of your mind, that at some point, the next time there is an opportunity to present them with a gift, you can utilize that information.
You know what? And that's so good, because that's what Cynthia was saying when I said you need to study your spouse and learn your spouse. Because I know for us, we could walk down the street and see something in the window. She say, oh, that looks nice. I think that would look good on me. And I made a note of it. So when a holiday, a birthday or Christmas came around, I would buy that item.
Yeah.
Because I made that mental note in the back of my mind that she said, I like that. And I think that would look good on me.
You did that for Christmas this year.
Did I?
Yep. That jacket you bought, you saw me looking at it in the store.
Oh, that's right. I sure did.
And I just want to say that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to say, as I'm listening to Cynthia and James, one of the things that keeps coming back to me from what they shared about what has helped them is, again, the assumptions and expectations and reducing the margin for error.
Right.
And that's one of the assumptions that we make. Oh, if I tell my husband this, or if I tell my wife this, her feelings might get hurt. But they make me feeling stressed and anxious every time they go buy a gift, because I don't know if they're going to like it.
Right.
That's true.
Thank you. Tell me, please.
That's so good, Kim. That's so good.
And I like that, because now you're sitting there on pins and needles when they're opening it up, hoping that they like it.
Yes.
Absolutely. And, I think that if a couple, if they're not able to have open, honest communication with one another, I think that speaks to a deeper issue that perhaps needs to be addressed and worked on, so that you can have that environment where you feel completely comfortable saying absolutely anything and everything to each other and receiving that from your partner. Because everything apart, when you have that open communication, when you could say everything, talk about anything, everything that your partner shares with you is not going to be warm and fuzzy. There are going to be some things that will hit differently, but that's okay, because that's a real meaningful relationship where you can receive that from your partner, because you have that understanding and that knowledge that it is coming from a place of love. They're not trying to be cruel or mean or derogatory in any way, but everything is not going to be warm and fuzzy.
Right.
Sometimes we have to have those hard conversations.
Right. And that's where your partner comes in. They're supposed to help you grow. And the only way they help you grow is to let you know things like that. They're teaching you as you go along. As time goes on and you're with that partner for a longer period of time, you're learning more and more as time goes on. And that helps you grow. And what you're doing is, like I always say, if you're not growing together, then what are you doing? You're growing apart. And the only way you can grow together is if you have those open lines of communication and tell each other how you feel, what you like, what you want, you know, what you appreciate, what you don't, so you can grow together.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm going to ask one last question, because I promised for us to try to finish close to being on time tonight. Didn't get to all of them, but I want to ask this one. So, in a world where technology is dominating, so how can love languages be practiced in a meaningful way in digital communication?
In a digital communication?
Yeah. When you consider that technology is just dominating everything is technology, how can that be translated into expressing love languages?
Well, honestly, that's what a lot of people do. You know, online dating is real. Texting comes before picking up the phone and calling someone these days. So like for me, again, my girlfriend group, we text each other all the time in the group. We'll be like, you know, hey, how are you feeling today? You know, we'll send words of affirmations in the group. We might send a meme that says something about make your day great, put your best foot forward. You know, those are, you know, words of affirmation. If you know that receiving gifts is, you know, your spouse's love language or girlfriend's love language or your child's love language, send them a cash app. So then that's receiving gifts. You know what I mean? Acts of service, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm not sure how you would necessarily do that unless they have like a site and you can help them with their website, or you can share their information on social media. That's an act of service. And quality time is, you know, picking up the phone. That's still digital also. Pick up the phone and call, or just send a text to say, hi, I was thinking about you. So there's ways to get all of those acts of service. Which one did I miss?
I think you got all of them.
I think you hit them all.
Yeah.
But I would say,
well, if it's a physical touch, but you can accomplish it.
That's a difficult one.
No, but not necessarily, because it doesn't have to be your touch.
Right.
It's in the form of massage.
And it could be one of those little emojis showing a
hug. Exactly.
Yes.
That's one of the ways you can.
Right. But you know, I would say when it comes to technology, and technology is big nowadays.
Yeah.
So when you're doing anything technical, how does that make you feel? Does that make you feel warm and fuzzy? Does that make you feel really good? Or does that make you feel cold and maybe even stern? So you got to see how that technology relates to you and how it makes you feel. So if it makes you feel really good, and you know what your love language is, maybe that technology helps you. But if not, then you could back away from it. Because see, for me, I don't like texting. If I had to text more than 3 or 4 words, I'm picking up the phone and calling you. I'm sorry.
I hear you.
And I don't even like texting in a group chat. But however that relates to you and how it makes you feel, then you'll know if that sort of technology affects you in your love language sort of way.
Charlene asked what I think is a very powerful question. How did you get comfortable with sharing your deepest desires, dreams, or hurts? I'm assuming she means with your partner. So anyone can answer that quickly.
I'll start.
I want to get to final words.
I know for me, James and I decided that, you know, we wanted to pray together. So we learned to pray together. And, you know, prayer, God answers prayers. He opens doors. And so if
Yeah.
you get comfortable with praying with your partner, then having a conversation with them should get easier, because you got God in the center, and God is not going to allow that union to be torn apart. But I think it is also going back to what I said earlier, is creating that atmosphere. Okay. Most couples don't have a set time of the day, the week, the month, the year that they say, okay, babe, this is Sunday. Sunday nights is our time to sit down and have a quality, good conversation, share what's going on this week, share what you need from me, share, what we're gonna work on this week together or apart. And so during those times is your chance to start sharing with them, say, and now it's time for us to talk about, things that I want to get off my heart, and you can talk about things that you want to get off your heart. And so you got to open up that door. You got to let them know that you're open to hear what they have to say first, baby. Babe, is there something you want to share with me that you just really want to get off your heart? Something that maybe I do that gets on your nerves that you don't like. And, and I can share with you how I can try to do better. We don't do that. But if you start first and give them that opportunity, then they will be more open to allow you to give it back to them.
Right. And I can I have two things. One, I could say that use how certain things make you feel, instead of you always do this, you always do that.
Yes.
I do this, I do that. Let them know how you feel. When this happens, this is how I feel.
Right.
When this is said, this is how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
So talk more about your feelings and how certain situations and certain things make you feel, and don't like point blame.
Yeah.
And secondly, you can do an exercise that Cynthia and I tell couples to do. You know that little hourglass in your games? Set that down, and you talk about your feelings and talk about how things make you feel, or certain hard topics, until that hourglass runs out, and the other person just sit there and not say a word, no facial expressions. You just sit there and listen. And then when you finish and it runs out, you flip it over, and now it's the other person's turn to go. This way, you can get everything off your chest. You can tell your mate how you really feel without them replying, without them saying anything. They're just listening to your heart.
Yeah.
And that really helps.
Yes.
Love it.
Absolutely. And one other thing is to really think about the difference between an invitation and a demand, right? Because whenever we push on someone, what happens? They're going to push back. But there's a whole different experience when someone invites us to understand more about who they are and how they're experiencing us. It feels safer.
It does. Absolutely.
That's good, because the demand will put you on the defensive and make you attack back, because you're feeling attacked.
Yeah.
And whenever you feel attacked, the first thing you want to do is attack back.
Yes.
Right.
So you're right. It should be more of an invitation. Invite them in. Invite them into how you feel instead of putting a demand on them. That is so good.
Yeah.
That's
and
good.
Charlene, I will answer that with one word, and that word is trust. Because when there's a high level of trust in a relationship, it makes it so much easier to have every type of conversation, including those hard and difficult and challenging ones, because I trust my partner with my heart. I trust my partner to tell me the truth. I trust my partner to be fair in our communications, and likewise, he trusts me with the same. Trust is not just about fidelity. Trust, a big part of trust from my perspective, is trusting your partner with your heart.
And you know what I say about trust? Look at the words TRUST, to really understand someone's treasure. And your spouse is your treasure. So that's where that trust comes in, to really understand someone's treasure. That's the trust. And they are your treasure.
Okay. Well, I just want to give an opportunity for final words, because we're right at the 8 o'clock mark. We're doing good. So we're going to take 3 minutes. So I'm going to put this banner up. Cynthia,
you just trying to get back to the football game.
Go ahead.
Okay. Cynthia, you want to talk about this real quick? And any other final words you may have regarding love
Yeah, I
language?
want to give
Go ahead,
final
baby.
words. I want to challenge everyone who's watching this show today and who watches the replay is if you have not done it already, establish a quality time, talk time with your spouse. Because when you tell your spouse, babe, we need to talk, boy, our defenses go up most of the time. But if you know that Monday mornings or Sunday night or Tuesday afternoon, that you know that's going to be our time, that we're going to sit down, have a cup of tea,
Right.
cup of coffee, whatever, and we're going to have our conversations to talk about how things are going, how we're feeling, how our week is going. If you know that if you start doing that on a small scale, you will find that you can build that trust to share your heart, your dreams, your desires, all of that stuff. It's building up. If you've never done it before, you got to build to that. So set those times to say, you know what, babe, this morning, Monday mornings, let's let that be our time to just sit and share and talk. Hold hands if you have to. Sit across the table from one another so you can look each other in the eye.
Absolutely.
That's what I would like to share.
I just want to add that, and consider having a brief prayer before you start your weekly or monthly check-in, whichever you have decided. So tell us about this in Loving It Academy, Miss Cynthia.
Yes, so we're super excited. James and I have been doing the academy for a while, but I put it on hiatus. And my friends, people who were in it, actually asking, like, when are you going to start it back up again? So we've started it back up. The In Love and Loving It Academy is our couples membership program, where you come in and we have a plethora of things to get you excited about life, about marriage, that's going to propel and move your marriage forward. There's 5 pillars in it, in the academy. If you go to the link, In Love and Loving It Academy, you will be able to learn everything about it. I don't want to go into all the details, but right now you can join for $1. For 30 days, you can be a member of the academy for $1. So, we just want you to come in, look around. If you like it, you're gonna like it, so you're gonna want to stay. But if it's not for you, you've only lost $1.
Yeah. And that will be one of the best dollars you ever spent.
You got that right.
Listen, something, because sometimes people they'll invest in so many other things, but they won't invest in their own relationship.
That's right. That's
you know what?
true.
And that's so good, because that's what I'll say. They'll pay to get married. They'll pay for the dress, the venue, all of that. They'll pay to get a divorce. You got to separate your money, but they never pay to learn how to be married.
Absolutely. And I am a strong proponent of that. You need to invest in, because people invest in what they believe is important. And if they believe their marriage is important enough, they'll make the investment. Absolutely. So Kim, talk about gender counseling real quick.
Okay, really quick. And some of the things that final help words would be intention, just setting that intentionality as couples, to make time for each other, and also to really build empathy and compassion, not only for your spouse, but also for your own needs, because it's hard to give what you don't give to yourself. So I think that's really very important. One of the things that we have coming up at Jeter and Associates Counseling is we're offering a group. At this time, it's just for adult women, and we're looking at the role of hurry in our lives, and what is it for us to slow down, right? Because I know a lot of women, a lot of us can be like Martha, and so what does it look like to slow down? And when we're walking through a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and understanding what is it, how do we follow the rhythms of grace that God's called us to walk in.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And is it in person, virtual, or both?
This first time is in person. It's in Pennsylvania, but we've been talking about offering it virtually. So this time it's in person, but stay tuned, because in the future we're looking at offering it as a virtual option.
I love that. I love that. And Sharon was asking how to sign up. So Sharon, I'm going to put In Love and Loving It. I think that's what you were asking about. So here is the link for that, In Love and Loving It Academy.com. And you can sign up there. And it's, how do you say, uno dinero? $1.
Uno dinero, $1. That's it.
It's $1. One of the best dollars you will ever spend. So wow, this was a great conversation. So I
Yes.
just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for opening up. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for providing us with such a wealth of information. Because sometimes we just need to have these types of conversations. Just get around. To me, this is very informal. Okay,
Yes.
because my husband can tell you, I will talk you up one side and down the other. I love conversation. So this to me is a beautiful experience when we can just kind of share from our personal experience and share some professional information at the same time. So thank you. And those of you who are watching, I want to encourage you, if you haven't already done so, to what is it on YouTube? I always get it wrong. Subscribe. Subscribe to the Marriage Beyond the Breach YouTube channel. Marriage Beyond the Breach, that's the YouTube channel. Marriage Beyond the Breach on Instagram and Facebook as well. And please come back next week. Next week, we're going to be asking the question, once a cheater, always a cheater? So we're gonna tackle that topic on next Sunday, same time, 7 p.m. Oh my goodness, two of my grandbabies are on here. The Sanaya and Janae comedy show. Those are my two oldest grandchildren. I don't know what they're doing on YouTube. I guess because since they don't have any school tomorrow. So I welcome you back. I want to thank you guys again for showing up. Thank you guys who have viewed the broadcast either live or later, because I always say time and distance is not a barrier for God to do his thing and to do his work and to make a difference in our lives. So join us again next week. I'll see you then. God bless you.